What is up, Mouse fam? Welcome back to episode 2 of Podcasting the Mouse. Today we have another new guest. To my left, or to your guys' right, we have Leto, and down below we have King Daka. So first and foremost, Leto, introduce yourself. You can let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Leto. My Twitter username is Leetmore at Leetmor. I live in Windermere, Florida. Actually, Enchantment's going off right now. It's really cool. I'm an architect. I went to Notre Dame, and I like theme parks a lot. So I like Disney.
If it was happily ever after, I'd tell you move the camera and show us, but we don't need to see it tonight.
You got to kind of go to the third floor and look out because there's a lot of trees, but you can definitely hear it.
That's awesome. You're close by. I love it. All right, and down below, King Daka, you can let everyone know what your whole shtick is, bro. Where to find you.
What's up, everybody? My name is King Daka. If you do not know already, you can find me on Twitter at KingDaka92. If you want to follow me on Instagram, also that's KingDaka_92. And I also have a YouTube, which I'm trying to be pretty persistent about, but it's a lot of work. But I still post as much as I can, which you can follow me at KingDaka92 if you did. Oh, wait, no. That's just King Daka. Forget the 92. If you type in King Daka92, I don't know what's going to pop up. Just type in King Daka. Anywho, that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. We're going to go over our usual topics. So normally our first topic is news, but with the recent play out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe this last week, we are skipping news and we are going straight to discussing what everyone has been talking about, Multiverse of Madness. So as of the recording of this video, it is Friday and the movie came out last night. All three of us saw it last night. We saw it separately, unfortunately, but we all three saw it. So I wanted to discuss that, and then also afterwards I wanted to discuss with you guys Moon Knight. I don't know if you guys have seen the finale yet. If you haven't seen the finale, we can not talk about spoilers, but we can discuss the show. So first and foremost, Leet, I want to hear your opinions, what you thought about Multiverse of Madness last night, maybe your expectations going in, and what you would maybe rate it or score it, or if you want to talk about like how it compares to the rest of the MCU, just your general thoughts on it.
Yeah, so I guess I remember I went into this movie. I didn't see any trailers on purpose. The only trailer I saw was the one that was at the end of Spider-Man. So I really didn't know what to expect. I just knew there would be cameos of people. I wasn't to know who I was expecting to see. I was hoping Hugh Jackman was going to show up, but that didn't happen. But when Patrick Stewart came on and when John Krasinski came on, I was like, I was screaming. I like the tonal shifts. A lot of Marvel movies, even the newer ones, like with different characters, have sort of become sort of the same after a while. Like there's hero, bad things happen, villain, and then big beam of light, and then they destroy the city, and then they save the city, and it all resets. And then the post credits, something else happens. But like with this movie and Eternals specifically, it's kind of felt like a departure. That being said, it's hard to like vision where you go next from here, especially with a film like Multiverse of Madness, when now that just opens the door up to just, there's a million possibilities and there's a million different universes they could pull from. Just financially, it just makes sense to stick in this one as much as possible just because there's already 10, 12 years worth of movies already set in it. But I mean, we'll see what happens. It'll also make it a lot easier for things like X-Men to cross over like we saw last night, or more Spider-Man things, and even like the new Sony Spider-Man things can also still cross over with this whole multiverse thing. And they don't really necessarily have to be always coordinated like everything else in the MCU always is. So
yeah, it's interesting that you point out how many options they could go in the other multiverses, and I agree financially they don't want to do that. And I also think their whole reason of like why, I mean, not the reason, but a big reason why MCU is so successful is because it was grounded in like this universe that we know, like this is our universe, our New York, all that. Like, and so, yeah, they could go into other multiverses, but I don't think that they want to. And I don't know if that would be the best way to do, to just hop around multiverses because of how grounded the MCU has been in this universe. And so, maybe they do that, but I'm hoping they just kind of play around with the multiverse, obviously with America Chavez and her powers, that being a huge, that's basically her power. So it's obviously going to play in. But I'm hoping they keep it grounded as much as they can. We'll see. Obviously, Lee, you and I have already talked about it. I have not. King Daka will not tell me his thoughts yet. So I'm very
game time decision.
What's your thoughts on Multiverse of Madness?
So I'll tell you beforehand, going in to see the movie, just like anybody else, I'm excited. I follow the Marvel movies to a T. I've watched every single one. So obviously the anticipation of Multiverse of Madness when Doctor Strange opened up that whole portal in Spider-Man, everybody knew what was going to ensue. So it was kind of like we're waiting to see what's next and who is going to be the next superheroes coming out of this, and the next just what's next. That's what my anticipation was going into this. But I want to say that I really liked this movie, but I didn't love it as much as I thought I would, and that's for a couple of reasons. But I'm just gonna make it short. It just was all over the place, and there were certain things, like, now that I think about it and look back at it, I'm like, wait, that kind of doesn't make sense. Or maybe it does. Maybe they're just, what Marvel does most of the time is they'll hold a lot of information for another movie, and they'll be like, oh, that's why that's some. So I'm still kind of like a little like confused. I love the direction the movie went. It was very like horror-esque. I love that. It was pretty cool. Wanda did exactly what I wanted Wanda to do. Her her story arc, I thought was great, because sometimes you just have to figure out who you are in terms of like a superhero or, spoiler alert, villain. And I think that played really well into who her character is as the Scarlet Witch. Anywho, with America Chavez, I thought she was great, but I thought sometimes her character fell flat in the sense of her storyline. Like, it was kind of just like a save the girl storyline, and I thought that was, it's done before, but I was expecting maybe a different story, maybe something different. And her introduction was so rushed. Like, I don't think they gave her a great introduction. Literally, the movie starts and it's just them running, and then he wakes up, and then boom, you see her again. I just rather something different. But in general, I just thought it was good. I mean, really good. I just didn't love it as much. It's just a lot of missed something. But I did like it. I really liked it. Like,
yeah, you and I, Creek, have similar feelings. I want to keep talking about it, but before we keep talking about it, let's all three give your grade. It doesn't have to be like a specific grade, however you want to grade it, and then where you would put it in the MCU. Like, is it top tier, like top 5? Is it like bottom of the tier? So Leet, we can start with you. Your general score, how you'd grade it, and then where you put it in the MCU.
Yeah, I think I'd give it a B+ because of the originality. Story was pretty good, but it was very rushed. Like, I felt like you mentioned earlier, like, we were introduced to America Chavez as if we already knew who she was.
Yes,
exactly. And most people don't know who she is. I don't know. I didn't know who she was.
Me neither.
It's not like she's like Captain America or Iron Man or Spider-Man. She's a relatively new character, so it would have been nice to have a little more than just, hey, I'm here now, and then so we knew who she was. In sorts of rankings, I think it's probably it's definitely below all 4 Avengers mainline movies for sure. And of course, below your Iron Man 3s, your Captain America 2 and 3, all the really good ones. But I definitely would put it ahead of Shang-Chi. I really like Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi was really good, but I thought it was really good story, really nice art style. The horror, I love also just the departure from the mainline MCU. They try to do that with things like Thor: The Dark World, and that didn't really work. So it's good to see that they're not just playing it safe nowadays.
Yeah. So okay, so you have it middle to maybe slightly
probably mid tier, definitely not towards the bottom.
For sure. And Kareek?
So me and my friends, we do 1 through 10 type thing. So I would give it a solid. What did I give it last night? I think I said I gave it a 8. I gave it an 8. You know what? And 8 is pretty high, but like I said, it wasn't I love it. I didn't love it, but I thought it was really good. So I would have given it an 8. Maybe a 7.5 if you want me to be real honest. 7.5, 8. And now ranking in the MCU, definitely above. It's funny you said Iron Man 3 was good. I didn't like Iron Man 3, so it's above
I
Iron
thought
Man.
that too. I'm not a big Iron Man 3 fan either.
I liked Iron Man 3.
So no offense, but it's in the middle. I think it's definitely in the middle. I did when it comes on Disney Plus, I'm gonna watch it again. And I'm gonna keep watching it. But
yeah,
it's only literally because of Wanda. I think, like I said, Doctor Strange did his thing. He's cool, but Wanda, she kicked ass, and that's exactly what I wanted. and she was so cool. So it's definitely in the middle. I can't give you a specific ranking because I'm bad with numbers. I don't know how many Marvel movies there are right now. So
Too many.
Kareem, you're the co-host on a ranking podcast, bro. You're gonna have to get your rankings down a little bit quicker. I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I think we're all in agreement. I'm definitely in the B level as well. I think I gave it around an 8.2 last night. I'm probably a little bit lower on that today. And yeah, I'd say middle MCU. It's certainly not the bottom of the MCU, but I wouldn't say it cracks the top 10. I think there's 28 MCUs, so I'm probably in the 10 to 15-ish range. So we're all pretty even. And just to give our viewers a note too, we're all like, all three of us are MCU like super fans, but none of us are like comic super fans. So if there's any comic super fans out there, you know, you might have a different opinion on us, or if you're just a casual MCU fan, you know, you catch them if you can. You know, you're probably a little bit less than us. So we're right in the middle there. All right, so that's good to know. And now I want to talk about I don't want to spoil too much because our next topic is relating to this. So maybe we can kind of go in between, but I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on like how this plays into the future of the MCU in Phase 4. And so just kind of talk about like, because obviously we can talk about what we liked about the movie, the acting, the soundtrack was all fantastic, but I want to know how you guys feel this plays into the greater like Phase 4, you know, where the MCU is going. So Kareem, we can start with you. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like it's just this movie specifically opened up so many doors for so many other stories to now that obviously Disney acquired Fox. Now they can definitely go into X-Men, Fantastic Four, and on to kind of integrate them into their universe, the MCU. So that's where, and then they're introducing. I feel like they're gonna do like a young Avengers type situation because then you have Kate Bishop, you have America Chavez. You have, who else?
Miss Marvel's coming up soon.
I feel like I'm missing. Miss Marvel, exactly. So we're getting a lot of the younger superheroes, and they're gonna do another team up later on. So I feel like once they introduce a lot of the newer, I still don't know 100% how that's gonna happen, but I'm very interested to see how they're gonna throw in that storyline to kind of interchange into everything else that's going on, especially with Thor coming out in July. Like, how is that gonna fit into the whole multiverse situation? You know what I mean? Like, so it's just very interesting to see how it's gonna go. I'm just
that's a great point you bring up because I'm all aboard the young Avengers. Like, I hope they dive into that and do that. But also, how are they gonna keep the young Avengers and then also keep like the OG? You know, like. Because like obviously you have like Scarlet Witch or Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch signed on for another like 7 years. You have a lot of the Guardians that are still signed on for a couple more years. So how are they going to balance those two? But I personally hope that they stay grounded. And I was talking to Leet about this earlier. I hope they stay grounded. Like, I'm okay if they do multiversal stuff, but I don't want the multiverse to be like what Phase 4 is. Like, I hope it's a part of it, but I hope that we still stay grounded and we have the Young Avengers and we still have like Thor and all those. And obviously we just got Hawkeye, which probably was one of the most grounded, you know, MCU shows we've ever gotten. And that was Phase 4. And so hopefully that's still there. And maybe I'm just overthinking the whole multiverse stuff, but I like multiverse. I just am fearful that it's going to like take away the groundedness of the MCU, but we'll see in the future. Leet, what are your thoughts?
I think like the multiverse in practice is probably just a good way to get a couple cameos out of the way. Because I also feel like when you bring in older characters, they're not going to want to sign on for another 7-picture deal when they were in 7 X-Men movies already or 7 Fantastic Four movies already. Or you also have some people who are in Fantastic Four and then in the MCU later. And then how do you deal with that? You know, paradox.
Yeah.
So I think the multiverse, once they get all that out of the way, it'll kind of simmer. I also think eventually we're going to get to a point where every Avengers movie that we have, everyone will not be in it anymore. Like when Avengers 1, 2, and like a little bit of 3, pretty much everyone in the MCU was in the past phase was in that movie, or at least the main people. Now that we're adding all these young people and we're starting to slowly kill off some of the people from the older ones and maybe some stick around, they're just not going to make it in the next movie. Like I remember in Infinity War, everyone was upset when Ant-Man and Hawkeye didn't show up. Because we would expect them to be in there because in the previous 2, everyone who was in it again. I also feel like they're trying to phase out some of the older cast with like your Yelena's, your Shang-Chi, all the Eternals. And as they're adding more franchises, like there's 7 Eternals, there's going to be however many X-Men, there's 4 Fantastic Four members. Eventually, the caster is going to get a little too big. And so eventually they're going to have to trim the list down, or like the Avengers are going to do their own thing, and then the X-Men are going to do their own thing, and then maybe there'll be one movie ever where they all sort of
like a team up. Yeah.
Wow, that's a really good point, Leet, because we've had 4 Avengers movies now, like actual Avengers, not talking about Civil War or any of those. And every single Avenger, I mean, obviously Infinity War was missing a couple, but they showed up in Endgame. Like that was the whole point, is they were team-up movies. And it's crazy because just 15 years ago, we had the first Avenger, and it was like insane that we had all these guys together. And now we're talking about being so big that there isn't even going to be like team-up movies anymore. It's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And I thought the other point that you brought up that was really good too is just talking about like how the like Professor X coming back. I 100% agree with you. There's not a chance he does a whole movie. Like maybe he has cameos, but when it comes to John Krasinski as Fantastic Four, that's been a fan casting that people have been wanting for 10 years. I mean, if you watch any fan casting video about like Fantastic Four reboot, it's John Krasinski in every single one, So how is that going to play in? Like obviously he's now, I mean, I don't know if I guess we'll avoid spoilers, but his fate in the multiverse that he's in would not lend himself to being in future, movies. So is he going to be like, are they going to bring him in our universe now?
I would think that's what I thought. Yeah,
the cameo, and like at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, we got the Venom cameo, but then like he went back because the multiverse got closed. So are we not getting Venom? Like it's just interesting to see like where we're going. And to Karik's point, so much of this will be answered down the road. Like the only person that knows for sure is Kevin Feige, and we won't know until 5 years from now. But it's super interesting. Like where are we going? Like there's so many options, but at the same time, they have to be really careful because. I don't know. I think both of you brought it up, but I think Leet brought up like we have to be careful with the old Avengers. Like we have to be careful with Thor. You don't want to be going on like Thor 8. Like Thor has to, at least his movies have to come to a close. Obviously, Guardians 3 is the final chapter of Guardians. Like we already know what happened to Iron Man. Cap's not getting any more, and so you have to usher in this new era while still keeping your old fans there. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Phase 4 bridges the gap. It could go so many different directions.
Yeah, it's wild. Just what's gonna happen next? You just don't know.
Yeah, because we have obviously our next one is Thor, right? Love and Thunder. That's next coming out. But I mean, have we gotten a green lit on Eternals too? Like, where are we going after that? And obviously we have Miss Marvel coming as well, but that's just a Disney Plus series. So where do you guys think? I mean, obviously there's been a couple greenlit shows, but where do you guys?
I know like once we have like I think we have Black Panther. Like movie wise, we have Black Panther. The second movie we have Fantastic Four, and I think that's all the confirmed movies.
Yeah, and Black Panther 2 and Captain Marvel 2 are 2023, right? Have we gotten when Fantastic Four is coming out?
I don't think there's a date yet, but I know they had to just replace the director.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
John Watts.
And that happened with Multiverse of Madness too, and Raimi had to come in late, but it ended up working out. So
yeah. So it's just tough to see where we go next. And also it's hard to speculate until we see more characters, because also like each new film is introducing characters that aren't necessarily always a part of that universe, like Kit Harington in Eternals, and like America Chavez wasn't necessarily always a Doctor Strange type person.
Yeah.
I think Ms. Marvel going to be introduced in Black Panther as well, I think, or something like that.
Her show's coming out next year, so we gotta find out soon.
So
I think she'll be introduced into the Marvels.
Oh, okay. There's someone that they're introducing in Black Panther that isn't like in Wakanda. That's important. I don't know who it is.
Man, Phase 4 has already been crazy. When we started with WandaVision, I was like, man, this is nuts. But then it ended up not being anything other than Wanda's creation. Like it wasn't a multiverse. And then we got Hawkeye, which was super grounded. And then Loki. Like it's just been a crazy Phase 4. And it's interesting to like think about too where we're gonna go in terms of like Disney Plus shows, because we've had so many grounded shows. But then we've had Loki, which basically dealt with time travel and kind of the multiverse, bigger than the multiverse really. And then obviously we've had WandaVision season 1 wasn't the multiverse. So I guess we've only got one show that was multiversal, but
yeah,
it's gonna be interesting to see where we go.
Yeah, the
other thing too that we haven't talked about is the fact that Phase 4 has gotten so mixed up from COVID. Like WandaVision was supposed to come out after Multiverse of Madness. Like how would that have even played out? Like because of the way Wanda's arc ends in WandaVision, it plays into her arc in Multiverse of Madness. So I have no clue
exactly,
how that played
which
out.
is why they rewrote. They just rewrote everything. Like, and
Yeah.
we'll never know how it was supposed to be. But I mean,
Yeah,
it
we'll
is what
never
it
know.
is. It is what it is. We'll never know.
Yeah.
This is a very confusing Phase 4 because I feel like they want us to not know what they're gonna do next, and I kind of like that opposed to the first couple phases. Like you kind of figured what was going to happen with the Avengers, and obviously there was going to be one main hero, and then obviously they switched it up when it came to Infinity War, Endgame. We didn't know that was going to happen, but now they're really just completely like throwing us curveballs. They don't want us to guess, and that's the whole point of the Marvel world. Is like, yo, just enjoy it because you don't know what's about to happen. You think
100%,
you know, but
100%.
And
I
like that.
That really excites me, but it also scares me. Like it makes me so pumped. Like we as fans should be so pumped about what's to come. Like now that Disney owns Fox, like we're getting obviously the Fantastic Four, the X-Men crossovers. Like we have all the young Avengers coming, like amazing. But it also kind of scares me, like, and that's probably like just the selfish part of me. But like I miss the simplicity of like the Phase 1 and 2. Like that's gone forever, and we're never getting it back. But
I also
it's for the better, but it's kind of sad too.
Yeah, I also wonder if in the future, if the goal is to get to an Avengers movie. Because also when you have movies like, I feel like also every Marvel thing just feels like an episode of Marvel. Like it went from that dark tone of Doctor Strange, and then in the next scene they're playing the WandaVision jingle. It kind of feels like one long thing, and they're just named different things, and little shifts don't click.
That's exactly how they want it to play out, because a lot of the times when you mix movies and TV, a lot of the TV stuff, things that happen in TV, and I'm not talking just Marvel in general. I'm talking about, I can't even give you an example, but like things that happen in a TV show, they'll make a movie about it, and it's kind of like they don't really talk about the things that happen in the TV show. And I like that. They bought that. It's kind of like a continuation. So you'll get a TV show, and then you'll get the movie. Like with Moon Knight, I don't know what the hell they're gonna do with Moon Knight, but a part of me thinks that Moon Knight is gonna somehow play a role into the Eternals. Like I just think that I personally like with the next Eternal movie. I don't know really what's going on with that. I can't really.
There's just too many ways for the world to end.
It is way too many ways. You're absolutely right.
Sure.
It's way too many. So I'm over guessing at this point. Like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh yeah, well this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. There's so many people on TikTok already that's trying to put the pieces together of certain things, and I'm just like, stop speculating. Because you're always wrong half the time.
Right. Said John Krasinski would be in WandaVision.
Yeah.
It was the people that said that John Krasinski was going to be in WandaVision.
Right. I'm glad you brought up Moon Knight Creek, and we'll talk about that, but I wanted to touch on the point that you and Leet just talked about. I do think WandaVision was hampered by, or I'm sorry, not WandaVision, Multiverse of Madness was hampered by expectations. Like the cameos to me were great, but it's the same thing that happened in WandaVision. Like people were just going crazy over speculation and like stopping at the previews on like every scene to like see who they see. And I think like that's fun. Like I'm glad people got to do that, but I do think that it hurt the movie overall because of those expectations. But I'm glad you brought up Moon Knight. What are you guys' thoughts on Moon Knight? Have you guys seen the finale, and how'd you like the show?
I haven't seen the finale just yet, but I liked the first 5 episodes. What I also like about Moon Knight, and this applies to Eternals as well, I don't know where it's going from here. Yeah. I don't know how we get back to the MCU. Like it doesn't even feel like it's part of the MCU.
It doesn't.
And no one really. Is there even anyone in the MCU that's been in it other than like there's no.
No, there's no MCU features, and I love that.
Everybody's new. Great. Everybody's completely new.
So like it just makes you wonder like where do we go from here? Where are we going to see him again? So
so that
brings into your point, Leet, too, about like are they even gonna do team up Avengers movies anymore? Like maybe they're not. Like people were critiquing Moon Knight online, like why wouldn't they just call the Avengers? No, it's not about that. Like it's a isolated show about like the mythology and about like his mental disorders. Like that's all it needs to be. And I love that. I'm sorry to cut you off, Kareem. You can share your thoughts too. I was just saying.
No, you're fine. I lost my train of thought. Thanks a lot. No, I was kidding. What the hell?
Moon Knight.
I don't. That's why I agree with you, Lee. Is because, it doesn't feel like a Marvel, which is cool. Like I don't mind it because other than that, you have Eternals that doesn't feel like a Marvel movie. like an original Marvel movie. You have, yeah, that's kind of about it. But it's like, how are they gonna play that into everybody else? I'm literally sitting here watching now. I forgot what episode it was, but I'm like, can I see Doctor Strange in here? Can I see anybody else team up with him? But in general, because I did see the finale. I thought the show was just very confusing, and I want to say it was great, but a part of me is just like, it was just okay. To me, it was just, and that's my personal opinion. I just thought it was just okay, and I don't know. It's confusing. Me and Sean were talking about this the other day. I'm like, it was just confusing to me. Like, there's so many things that they didn't speak on, and then it just felt rushed towards the end. When you do watch the finale, something just feels too abrupt, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, what's next? And are you gonna continue with this storyline? Because I know, like, maybe they just like leave it as a TV series or a short series, and it really touch into that later. I don't know what's going on with this, but I just thought it was pretty. It's a weird show. It is.
You're right. I think based on the post credit scene, I won't spoil anything for Leet or for our viewers because it just came out this week. But I think based on the post credit scene, it's going to stay a TV show, and we're going to get another season. You're right, Kareek. I don't know how they partner this into the bigger MCU, and maybe they don't, and maybe that's for the better. I wasn't as confused on it, but I definitely agree with you that the last episode was way too rushed. It should have been like 2 episodes, and that would have brought the show home. For some reason, Disney Plus just can't bring home their finales. It's always too rushed. But
I think that
my next video that I'm working on now is actually ranking all 6 Disney Plus TV shows. So I'm excited about that one. You guys can take a look out for that one.
Finales really clicked for like Hawkeye. Like, I think Hawkeye was the best of all of the finales, in my opinion.
It was the best finale for sure. It was the only one that didn't feel rushed. Yeah.
Might not have been the best show, but if it was the best finale,
yeah, couldn't agree more. All right, we're going to transition to our second topic, and I'm actually going to switch it up a little bit. So originally our topic 2, this is the good, the bad, and the great. It was going to be the MCU Phase 4, but we already talked about that a lot, so I'm actually going to switch it up on you guys a little bit. We're going to do the good, the bad, and the great of just Multiverse of Madness. So our thoughts on what was good about it, our thoughts on what didn't work, and then our thoughts on what was like amazing. And obviously all of us didn't love it, so we can go from there. But Kareek, I want to start with you. What you thought was good. So I'll share our good real quick, our bad, and then our great. So what you thought was good about Multiverse of Madness?
The action was good. I thought the action was really good. So
agreed. Action was great. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Leet?
The good. I would just say getting to wrap up Wanda's arc was good. I have a better great, so that's why I'm going to reserve it for then. But like it's also interesting that when you talk to other people, I don't think anyone was really dying to see Doctor Strange in a new movie. I think they were dying to see Wanda in a new film.
For sure. Her arc was just left hanging.
Hold on, I'm going to combat that. I don't think her arc, I feel like her arc is like nowhere near done. Like this is Wanda's, I can't say without spoiling it, but like Wanda's not there. Like it's not Wanda. Like that's true.
I see what you're saying, but she still made those decisions, bro. I turned to my buddy in the movie and I said, I don't care what they do, she's irredeemable at this point. And like I love Scarlet Witch. Like WandaVision is my wife's like favorite MCU character of all time. Like we went out of our way to get the ears when they barely dropped at the parks for like one day. And after the movie, my wife was like trying to give away her ears to the fans because she was so annoyed. Like she felt so betrayed. So I don't know how they redeem her. To me, it feels irredeemable, but I hope they find a way because like she's one of my favorite characters. All right, that's your guys' goods. I like both of those, so I'm trying not to take those. I'm gonna go the good, and just like Leet, I don't want to take a great, so I want to go something that's like I feel like is pretty good. So I'm gonna go with the cameos. I know that people are disappointed. I thought the cameos were perfect. I thought they weren't too fan servicey. Like if they threw in like 30, people are mad because they were nitpicking the scenes, and so they wanted more cameos.
Yeah, you wanted a lot more cameos.
They're good. I won't say great. I thought they were good. I thought they could have put in like 30, and it would have been way too much. Or they could have only done like 1 or 2, and it would not have been enough for a movie called Multiverse of Madness. So I thought the cameos were solid. I thought it was just enough to be not too much, but not not enough either. So bad, Kareek. Yeah. What did you dislike about Multiverse of Madness?
I didn't like. Personally, I didn't really like the storyline. I just thought it was not all over the place. I just thought it was simple, and I don't know, like the whole we need to find Wanda to stop her from trying to steal a time travel to get to her kid. Not okay, that's not simple. When I say it's not simple, but it's just like I don't know. I wanted something a little more in depth. Like I am glad that she wasn't looking for power, but she was looking for her kids, and that's cool too. But I don't know, something about it just was like I would rather them go into another storyline.
No, it was a very, very basic plot, definitely. Yeah, Leet.
The pacing, you just hit the ground running. You're at the wedding and suddenly they're fighting, and then they just go straight through it. I feel like something of this with this sort of storyline lends itself better to a TV show. I understand why they didn't, because the budget's way too high. They had way too many action sequences. It's not sustainable unless it's in the theater. But like they also could have spent more time in other universes. They kind of just like. It's called the Multiverse of Madness. They went to really just 2 universes.
Right.
The one,
Mars, right.
6 whatever, and then, or 8, 3, 2, and then the one with the guy with the third eye. That was the 2 they went to. They could have been to a lot more. They kind of just rushed through a bunch just to be like, oh my God, there's cartoons. But the pacing was just really off. We also didn't really get to see, it's also confusing as to why Doctor Strange cares so much about America Chavez. Like he just met her off the street. She could be anyone. She could be a villain, but he just trusts her, and we don't really get to see why he cares about her so much. And maybe there isn't a reason, but it just seemed weird that he's like literally like going and he's reading this like dark book just to save this girl he just met.
So, yeah, I agree. For sure. No, I agree with you. I agree, Lee, on pacing. That was actually my answer too. I thought the pacing was really bad. So my bad. I don't want to focus on like the multiverse. Like I only want to focus on this movie, like talking about just this movie. So I'll go with the last like third of the movie. I thought the first 2/3, like I was all aboard. Like outside of the choppy pacing in the plot, I was like, this movie's great. Even the horror, when the horror started, I was like, this is awesome. I love it. But I thought the last third was just chunky. I feel like they didn't really know how to land the plane, and they had to super rush through Wanda's like redemption arc, and it just super rushed through. I thought I really love Raimi's vision. Like I love how Raimi visualizes action. I love how Raimi brought in like the horror element, but I really thought he misfired with Zombie Strange's face. I thought Zombie Strange's like movements and even like Zombie Strange in general was super cool, but the mask and the prosthetics they used was just so off to me. The second I saw it, I was like, is this Harvey Dent? Like, is this Two-Face? And every single time he talked, all I could think was Two-Face. Like, when's Batman showing up? I thought it was really corny. And like, I know Raimi, I know that's his style. And like when Doctor Strange like winked, when Zombie Strange winked, I know that's Raimi's style, but I just felt like it took away from the depth of the moment. And like the MCU has always been so good
at balancing
humor with like seriousness, and I felt like that was just like it was taking away from the seriousness of it. And I felt like it made America Chavez's like emotional moment less emotional because you have Zombie Strange with a half mask on winking. Like that just it took me out of the moment. And I love Raimi's style. Like I'm glad Raimi directed this movie, and I think Raimi did an amazing job, but I think that it just got too much towards the end, and because the pacing and the plot was so bad, it just didn't know how to land the plane. So that's my bad on it. But now we'll get positive again. The great, Kareek, what did you think was great about this movie?
The great was Wanda. Simple. I loved badass Wanda, and I get it. She was too evil, but at the same time, and I say too evil because Jessica's actually said that she thought she was too evil, and I'm like, honestly, that's perfect because the fact that she's dabbling with dark magic, and this is ancient magic, that's something that's like it's real serious. Of course she's gonna get to her deepest, darkest at that time. So to me, I'm just like, if you're gonna play that, if you're gonna dive into that, you're gonna play that role. And she did what she had to do to find her kids, and I was like, yo, she's giving me the action I wanted. She's giving me that Scarlet Witch stuff that I wanted, and it sucks that she had to show that power in the form of a bad guy. But I thought she was really cool, and
she was a badass dude. Elizabeth Olsen is absolutely insane. So that's a great right there. All right, Leet.
I think you already used it as your good, but I'm gonna say it was my great was all the cameos. I think it's awesome that Haley Atwell like still comes back for more like MCU things. She's been in TV shows. She had her own show. Yeah. She was in like all these different movies. She was in an animated show, and then she's in this. And also just
And
getting Patrick Stewart on board for something like this is just kind of mind blowing. Like he's an amazing actor, and for him to just cameo for a couple minutes in a movie like that he felt for a character that he did years ago that they've already recast in that franchise years ago is just mind blowing. Another great would also have to be just the introduction of America Chavez. Like she's definitely going to be in more films. I don't know how or exactly what they're going to do, but like she's definitely like going to be very important moving forward. And I think that they did a pretty good job of like introducing her character and like showing her arc. I want to know more about her past, obviously, but like I think that was really cool.
Yeah, I felt for a 2-hour movie that was focused on 2 other characters, Doctor Strange and WandaVision, they killed her arc. Like they weren't able to give her much time, but in the limited time they gave her, like her arc was so good.
Yeah,
and what's up?
It's really weird how I don't know why this randomly just popped into my head, but you guys remember when at the end scene when America was trying to do the whole cheat thing with the doctors, with the other,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot the name. But then so I was thinking about Ned when he did it with
Spider-Man.
In Spider-Man, and I'm like, I'm wondering if they're gonna like do something with that, and I'm like, are they gonna make him into like something, because it's like, how does he do it easly when and she's struggling over here and she has actual powers, you know what I mean? So it's like, does that tie into the young, obviously not Young Avengers, but are they going to give him some type of, I don't know. I know that
he could very well play into the Young Avengers. Yeah.
I remember I saw some sort of fan theory that said that originally America was supposed to do that scene, not Ned.
But
I don't know if that's true.
I mean, with how much they had to mix up in the Phase 4, like, in terms of like when movies were releasing, it could have been because they
like Sony was like hitting the ground running. They weren't going to be delayed, but Disney was like, let's, so
yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to give an honorary great shout out because it was kind of what you two pointed out, but the acting, I thought America Chavez, I'm not going to be able to say her first name, but Miss Gomez and Benedict Cumberbatch and Elizabeth Olsen, like, and all the cameos, like Leet said, like the acting carried the crap out of this movie. Like if the acting was worse, like if this movie came out 15 years ago and it didn't have the budget or the acting, it would have been like one of the worst movies ever. Like, but the acting
would be terrible
for it with the budget they gave him, like just incredible acting across the board. So
agreed.
I thought that was great. My great is the soundtrack. I usually don't notice these types of things like scores. I like scores, but I usually don't notice them like other people do. The soundtrack in this film was freaking insane, man. Like the WandaVision score, the score when Strange is fighting evil Doctor Strange, and they're like fighting with the sound, like just insane cool. From front to back, like incredible soundtrack.
Completely agree. That fight scene was actually like so different and really cool. So I love that.
Yeah. All right, you guys can share in your comments what your good, bad, and great was. Let us know if you've seen the movie yet. Try and avoid spoilers if you can, but obviously we probably talked about spoilers a little bit too much already. Yeah. So just be warned if you go down to the comments. All right, topic number 3. We are going to do some rankings now. We're going to do our top 5. And we kind of went over on time on the first section, so we'll have to go a little bit quicker here. But Leet, our guest, is a huge dark ride fan, more than coasters, more than anything, huge dark ride fan. So we are all going to do our top 5 traditional dark rides. So this doesn't include Haunted Mansion or like Rise of the Resistance. It's got to be a traditional or at least smaller scale dark ride. So it can be something new, like Mermaid or whatever, but traditional dark ride. So we're going to do our top 5. So Leet, since you are the dark ride fan, we'll start with you. You can share. We'll just do 5 through 1. You can do all 5 of yours right now.
Okay. You want me to do all 5 or just do number 5?
Yeah, just do all 5. I was gonna do like all of us do our 5, but we're kind of running short on time, so
okay,
we'll just do all your 5. Then 3 will go.
So 5 would have to be Peter Pan. 4 would have to be
Disney World. Which coast?
Disneyland, because they added the new stuff in it. They added the pixie dust and all the other stuff. Disney World is also just the line. The line also plays a factor in the ranking. If I can't get on it, then it doesn't count.
Great call.
Number 4 would have to be. I'm gonna go with the new Snow White ride. Number 3 would have to be the old Snow White one, the one they used to have that was actually scary.
Really? Wow. Okay.
So in Tokyo, they never changed it. They never, because I know they've like dumbed it down at least 2 or 3 times before they got to Enchanted Wish. Tokyo one she still dies in the end, and it has the longer scenes and everything. So that one's really cool.
Interesting.
Number 2 would have to be Mr. Toad. I've never went on the Disney World one, obviously, but the Disneyland one is a lot of fun. It's just crazy, and it's also just there's no scene in the movie where he dies and goes to hell. But that's just there you go. Like, you know.
For sure.
I'd also have to tie Alice in Wonderland. I like Alice a lot. The dark ride's not the best, but it's just charming. Like, it doesn't really tell the story really well, but it's just fun. And then one would have to be definitely Roger Rabbit.
Ooh, wow, really? You're a Roger Rabbit fan?
Love Roger Rabbit. It's a lot of fun. I love the spinning. It's also interesting because it spins. Everything in the dark ride, it has something on it. So like most of the time, like if you look backwards on like Snow White, it's just like blank, where you'll see like you'll see lights. But because you spin, everything has an angle to it. I didn't like what they did with Jessica, but that's a different conversation. But it's still a fun ride.
I was not expecting. That's a solid choice. I was not expecting that. That's a really good choice there. That's a great list. You got some traditional like classic Walt originals. You got an extinct Snow White there, the scary version, which I didn't like at all. So I'm shocked you like that. And then coming in hot with the Roger Rabbit. I like it. Tariq, what's your thoughts on his list, and then what's your ranking?
All right. So what's my what?
I was gonna ask your thoughts on Leet's rankings, unless you don't have any.
Oh no, I love them all. So I 100% agree. I would just definitely put Snow White, the new one, above everything. But that's just me. But
all right, let's hear your ranking.
Let's see. Okay, so number 5, I love Alice in Wonderland. That's new for me because I just started going to Disneyland, so I really do love Alice. I think that is so great. Number 4 is Peter Pan, Disneyland. 100%. I just like the way that it moves fast, and it moves a little faster than Disney World, and it just looks better. Number 3, I would say I love Little Mermaid for some weird reason. It's not even my favorite movie, but I just love that one like so much. Number 2 is going to be Frozen. I love Frozen. Like, love it. I love that ride. Don't know why. And number 1 is Snow White, Enchanted Wish.
I knew that was
of course. Yeah, that's definitely my number 1. So that's that.
I feel like,
and I wanna love Pinocchio, but it is what it is.
Pinocchio it's nice that Pinocchio has a ride, but that doesn't mean it's the best ride.
I agree with Leet. It's great that it's there, but it's the worst of the like traditional fantasy and dark rides.
Definitely the one if I don't have time I skip is Pinocchio.
Yeah. Creek, I'm not sure Frozen Ever After counts as a traditional dark ride, but I'll give it to you.
All right, so then you know what? I'll switch that out with I don't even know. We're gonna keep it. Sorry.
We'll come back to you. Take out the drop, and I'll give it to you as a traditional dark ride.
Okay. Okay. You know what? Then no, we'll switch that with.
I did forget about Monsters.
Then yes, 100%. Let's switch that with Monsters. I love Monsters.
Yeah,
Monsters should have been on my list, but I forgot. I shouldn't have put Snow White twice.
Monsters is my number 5 as well. So Lee, we'll let you take out old Snow White since it was way too scary, and you can put Monsters as your number 5. Yeah, Monsters is my number 5 at DCA. That ride, I know it doesn't fit, and I'm a thematic like junkie, so I don't like that it doesn't fit there. But once you get into the queue, like that ride is so good, like such a solid dark ride. I hope when they redo Hollywoodland, they're able to take that ride and put it somewhere else that fits. I don't think there's room for it at Pixar Pier, but if there was, like that'd be great because that ride's great. I hope it doesn't get taken away only because of how cool it is, even though it doesn't fit there. So that's my number 5. Number 4, Pooh at Disney World. Pooh, dude, that ride is underrated. A Disneyland one is good too, but I love how animated the one at Disney World is. So I'm a big Winnie the Pooh fan at Disney World. My number 3 is Snow White Disneyland. It's got to be in there, dude. It's so freaking good, man. Like, I know Creek's one of his favorite rides, like, period, like any park. It's just so good. It's got to be top 3. My number 2 is Alice at Disneyland. I loved it before they upgraded it, and I thought the upgrades, like, they kind of enhanced it like they did at Snow White, but they did it very delicately, and I thought they did it so well. Like, and Alice is so original. Like, Disneyland is the only ride that has that dark ride, whereas Peter Pan is at so many different parks that It's not as original to me, but Alice is just super
Tokyo.
original. Number one, this
You're
might
right.
be kind of cheating. I don't know if it's a traditional dark ride, but Grand Fiesta Tour at Epcot, it's more of a boat ride than a dark ride, but there's not really any drops or anything or effects, so I'm gonna count it. I love that ride. It needs an update really badly, but if it got an update, it would be like one of the best rides in the park. So super underrated too. It's really easy to get on. Even if Epcot is super busy, it usually has a short wait. So that is my number one. All right, good rankings. You guys in the comments can let us know your rankings. Don't get mad at me and Leet. If you want to get mad at Karik. He's the one that usually takes the brunt of my angry comments. So there we go. All right, topic number 4. We are going to shift things now, and we're going to talk about our guest we have on this week, Leet. Leet, I know that you are an aspiring Imagineer, and I know that you are big into architectural design. So why don't you let everyone know just how you got into that, maybe how you got into Disney as well, but more so how you got into the design part of that, where your passion came from, and then just where you hope to go. I mean, maybe not like you don't have to share us your 5-year plan. It's not an interview, but just where you hope to be.
So I grew up here. Obviously, I grew up in Orlando area. My parents were cast members. My mom worked at the tip board at Epcot. My dad worked at Interventions. They were both cast members. Anything like cast members, they don't make a lot of money. So our activities would consist of just going to the parks because they both had main gates. So we'd go all the time. I was pretty much raised at Epcot. Like that's where my parents did their baby swaps. I always had Legos, like to build things, and I would just like to build things at Disney with my Legos, my Lincoln Logs, my Tinker Toys, things like that. So I knew I wanted to go into something design related to theme parks because I was like, oh, I can make a career out of this. I can instead of just playing with it or doing my roller coaster tycoon, I can do this and make money. I thought I wanted to be more of an engineer, but then I failed. I didn't fail anything, but I didn't do well in calculus. It wasn't my favorite thing. So I was like, if I want to do engineering, then I don't have to do calculus. So I did architecture instead because it's more design, more drawing, more pretty, and minimal math. I did a 5-year program over at Notre Dame. I graduated about a year ago. That was a lot of fun. We got to go to Rome in our 3rd year. That was a lot of fun. So I had a Disneyland Paris pass, so I went a couple times because the flights were super cheap. So that was a fun year, using just all these really cool Roman and just Italian buildings as the subjects of my projects for a year. It was a lot of fun. But now I graduated. I'm back in Orlando. I work in Altamont Springs as an architect right now. I'm trying to get my license. It's really hard. I've learned this just through interviews and I worked for Universal Creative a couple years ago, just before the summer, just before COVID. And I learned that it was really hard to get licensed when you're working at Imagineering or at Universal Creative. Getting my architecture license was something that's rather important to me because there's not a lot of people of color who have their architecture licenses in the 1% and 2%. And I don't want to be guilty and not get mine. So I'm going to get that and then try and work my way back into Imagineering. Now that I'm in Orlando, it's nice that they're all moving here. California. We'll see what happens. This is not the best situation right now in Florida, but we'll see. Fingers crossed. But yeah, that's my life in a minute and a half.
Awesome. Okay, so you grew up. So I know you live in Orlando. I didn't actually know you grew up there. So you grew up next to the parks, going there all the time.
Yeah, the Champions Gate Publix was our Publix growing up, and the traffic was not as bad as it was. That's a pretty recent thing, because we would do that commute all the time.
Yeah, Champions Gate to Orlando now is brutal if you don't plan it correctly.
I don't my parents live on the other side of that now, and I'm like, I'm not going there. This is important.
Yeah, it's funny too. For my viewers that don't know, Leet lives in Orlando, and I go there a lot. Creek and I go there a lot, but I have actually only met Leet at Disneyland on the West Coast. So we never actually hung out in Orlando where he lives, but we have hung out on the West Coast in Disneyland. So Creek and I will be there in June, Leet. So hopefully you're there. We can do a little in-person podcast.
Yeah. Even if it's even if I can't get a resi, I'll meet you somewhere else or whatever.
I hate that we have to make resi. I hate that we have to plan around being able to make a resi. That's crazy.
Yeah, right now I'm just I want to get an annual pass. Yeah, and I use my dad's main entrance pass right now, and we cannot get a reservation. My next reservation is for June 1st. That's that's the next time I can get one.
So brutal on CM. So your parents are still cast members, right?
My dad is.
Okay.
My mom is not anymore. But
okay.
My dad, 26 years, 27 years. Something like that.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Our next podcast, we're gonna have to talk about reservations and your love of old school Epcot and old school Tomorrowland, because I see that Epcot Millennium Celebration behind you, and I know that you told me you're an old school Tomorrowland fan, which I don't know how, because Tomorrowland is so bad, but we'll have to hear your thoughts in another podcast.
Yeah, I don't like. I know you don't want to. I'll save that, but the in between that it is now, I don't like. But
Fair, okay, fair. We can get some common ground there. Kareek, you got any questions for our guest?
What's your favorite ride at Epcot?
At Epcot, so that's a tough question, because I like all the rides, and I also like there also isn't one stick out, honestly. I really like Ratatouille. I really like Ratatouille though, not because it's at Epcot, but because when I was abroad, I did it a lot at Disneyland Paris, so it brings back those memories of being abroad. I like Soarin' a lot, just because it's like I just think it's like very immersive. I just think it's really cool. I also like Spaceship Earth because like there's a lot. Like, I like animatronics in rides. I know like sometimes it's like people think it's boring when you take them, but for me it's just a really cool story just to see how communication has evolved over time.
Yeah.
I know I don't like Mission Space at all. It makes me sick.
Everybody.
We're a Mission Space hate account here.
I like the aquarium in Nemo. Don't necessarily like the ride. But
Wow,
I
as
like,
a dark
I like
side
Frozen.
fan,
I
I'm
do like
shocked you
Frozen.
like the Nemo ride.
I love Nemo. Nemo is such a
Cute
relaxed ride. Like I literally go in there if it's hot, and it's just so great. And then the song at the end is just.
I like the submarine version better, personally. But
Fair enough. Hey, the queue for that ride though, the queue for Nemo, that's a great queue right there.
yeah.
All right, moving into our last topic, topic number 5. Leet, the viewers have to know this is the most important part of a Podcasting the Mouse episode. We need your top 3 rides you've ever been on. Any park, it doesn't have to be Disney, it can be Universal, International, whatever. Your top 3 in order, and then after that, your one ride that you've never been on. It can be like a ride that hasn't opened yet, or it can be like an international park you haven't been to. So your top 3 favorite, and then the one that you want to go on the most. Okay.
So number 3, they're all going to be Disney because the next highest ride, I made 5. The fourth one is Spider-Man at Universal.
Okay, so honorable mention is Universal Spider-Man.
Yeah.
All right, I like that.
Number 3 would have to be the Shanghai Pirates ride. When I went to Shanghai, it was about a month or 2 after it opened, so there was practically no videos of anything because just videos in China. It's hard to get things out. So I didn't know. I was expecting just Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's not that. It's just like there's just all these really big screens and these really big sets, and you're just like, whoa, this is awesome. So like that was just like I thought Tron would be the highlight. Pirates of the Caribbean there was the highlight. 2 was Mystic Manor for sure. Just because it's just unlike anything. Like that was also the first trackless ride I'd ever been on besides the SeaWorld one. So just going around, just floating around, just seeing different things with the little monkey, Albert, that was cool. I like that a lot. And the number 1 have to be Indiana Jones Adventure.
At Disneyland?
The Tokyo one's better, but I've only been on it once. But Disneyland is obviously the same thing pretty much. It's just action the whole time and you're like moving and there's just really cool set. It's like thrilling and there's like a really cool storyline. So it just has everything together. I don't necessarily think you need lots of animatronics to make it look cool because there's minimal in that ride, but I don't know. It's just, and it's also just, it feels so separated from Disneyland because I mean, physically it is, but you just really feel like you're in this really cool temple, like in the middle of nowhere.
I agree. Yeah, completely.
I gotta say, your list is so solid because your 3 plus your honorable mention, your 4 are all different, completely different ride systems. They're all in completely different parks. Half of them are in different countries, and they're all like headliner like attractions, but in different ways. Like Mystic Manor is the headline, like dark ride. Indy's a headline, like whatever, a new ride system that's completely new. Shanghai is like the headline water ride. That's a fantastic list right there.
Yeah, you're really cool. You are way cooler than the both of us. So.
Great. In your top 3 last week, you had Snow White's Enchanted Wish at Disneyland. Leet had Pirates from Shanghai, bro. You're just way behind.
I'm sorry. There's this one scene in in Snow White that kind of tops everything with pirates can like. Just don't talk to me about that.
There's a screen
I know
the
my
size
list is
of all of that Snow White ride.
Hey, Karik and I have both not been to any international parks, so we are way behind Leet on these in terms of like fantastic rides. I will say I have been on Spider-Man at Universal, and I agree with you.
That's
I
an amazing.
I don't know if it's
That's the
my
best
top
ride in
pick, but
Orlando.
it's very like underrated. Like I know
Yeah.
it won a bunch of awards as like the best like dark ride and stuff, but I don't think it gets talked enough about in the like fan community. Like it's just super, like still to this day, 20 years
It's
later.
also just like it's 23 years old and it's still amazing. Like
yeah. I mean, Indiana Jones the same way, right? They opened only like a year apart, Indiana and Spider-Man. So it kind of stinks that those ride systems haven't been like plussed yet. Like I know Transformers is a worse version of Spider-Man, and Indiana Jones hasn't been plussed yet. Like that's the best we've ever seen from that ride system. So
I mean Dinosaur, but
Dinosaur's the worst version of that too. Hopefully, it's been 23 years. Hopefully, we get better versions of these ride systems, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But all right, thank you so much, Leet, for joining us. Thank you, viewers, for listening to episode 2 of Podcasting the Mouse. I want to thank my co-host down below for joining us again. Karik, our co-host, has gotten all of the fanfare from the comments on Twitter. So thank you so much, Karik. Can you let the viewers know where they can find you? Uh-oh, he just lost Karik. Oh, there you are.
Did he freeze? Oh, he's get back now.
Karik, you're back. Can you let the viewers know where to find you? And please don't freeze this time.
If my connection is choppy, I am sorry, but you can find me at King the Ka _ no underscore. King the Ka 92 on Twitter. You can find me on YouTube at King the Ka. That's it. And you can find me on Instagram at King the Ka. I can't even speak. King the Ka _ 92. If spelled just like that. So
yeah, make sure you guys do subscribe to him on YouTube. Make sure you guys subscribe to him on YouTube. He's got a bunch of Twitter and Instagram followers, but his YouTube is super underrated. So make sure you guys go over there and hit that subscribe button. And Leet, our guest over here, can you let everyone know where they can find you?
Yeah, I should really have changed my name there. Despolito, DESPALIGHTO on Instagram, and then if you type that in on Twitter, it'll come up as well.
Yeah, if you guys are friends with Karik and I on Twitter, just type in Leet and it'll pop right up right away because we're all mutual friends.
Just the 4 letters.
Yeah. So make sure you guys find them. Make sure you find their most controversial topic from this podcast and just let them have it on Twitter about how much you disagree with them.
Roast me. Judy will defend me. Judy Winslow will defend me.
Exactly. But thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you for talking Multiverse of Madness, talking rankings, talking dark rides, all that good stuff. And until next time, peace.